And are you refreshed? Good. Now what? You are a lot of trouble here. All right, so let's have some fun. Begin right here.
Now I'm buying the CD now. For sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, more than a question, I was thinking many things came to my mind in the previous people that came up here, and so.
Because your inner mind is feeding answers to you through the whole thing too. In other words, when you're in the receptive mode, a dialogue like this stimulates a lot of things for you to receive too. Yeah.
I've had this thought since I've heard all your videos on YouTube about the translating, the senses being translators from vibration. So I try to imagine this picture. Actually, there is a movie or two where they talk, people start losing their senses one by one. They lose their sight, then they can hear until they lose everything. So that really solidifies the idea of we are on a matrix. Nothing is real in the sense of physicality. So it's all vibration, and so when you talk about physical and non-physical, I want to try to think in a way that everything is non-physical. Really, it's
all energy.
Yeah, it's all energy. It's just different points of view.
So what do you think really would make the distinction between this stuff that's around that so many people are translating through their physical senses? What's the difference between that and some of the earlier thoughts that we were talking about that are in the vortex? More agreement in the thought.
Yeah, also the difference is that I was thinking also that the reality that we see through our senses, it's in the past. If we keep on looking at things, as you said, we are living way in the past. So to connect to that part of non-physical or non-manifested stuff.
Good. We like the way you use the word non-physical and non-manifested. Let's also apply the word unconditional.
Right, unconditional.
Because it hasn't manifested into something that's been translating through eyes and ears into a condition that is being witnessed. Yes.
Right. So I got lost.
We distracted you, and we want to get back to where you were going. We are in agreement that there is a non-physical reality that most physical humans don't see. It's too subtle for them to use their physical senses on, and in order to understand it, they would have to feel it. So this is where we want to take what you were saying, whether it's where you wanted to take it or not. Because what we're talking about is the early stages of a creation and what senses can perceive it. And in those early stages, it's like you can feel it, you can feel the confidence of it or the certainty of it while you can't yet see it. And if feeling it is enough, because the subtlety of translating the non-physical through the only way you can, which is through your emotions, is enough, then eventually there will be enough momentum in the vibration that then you will be able to translate it through less subtle senses, which is the way you interpret through sight and sound and so forth. It's worth saying, and then we're going to be quiet and let you get to where you were going. Sight is vibrational interpretation, and hardly anybody thinks about that. You're so good at it, and you're doing it at what you call an unconscious level, so you don't even know you're doing it.
So much practice the whole life.
Not just you, but the generations before and before and before and before. And so there's this expectation of it that it's just hanging in the air, and since thoughts are turning to things all around you, it becomes just your natural expectation. And we want you to feel as certain as you know that you can see something or hear something, even though you see and hear in variances with one another. We want you to feel as sure about being able to see or sense what's in the vibrational reality in the vortex that hasn't come into that full fruition. We want you to feel as sure about that because you sense it as you are about this chair that you are sensing and calling that sensing sight. In other words, let's call sight a sensor. Let's call ears a sensor. Let's call nose a sensor. Let's call emotion or solar plexus a sensor. It's just different degrees of translation. And if it's enough, if you're willing to feel it, even though you can't see it, it will become more and more and more vivid until you will be able to see it. This is the story of thoughts turning to things.
Yeah. They gain like density. Would it be like, I mean, the manifesting process of a vibration into this physical reality? Would it be like the I mean, when they gain momentum, they get more dense in terms of like slower vibration or something like that. So then we can translate it with
that is actually accurate. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make sure that you have accepted that thought, let's talk about the difference between the speed of light and the speed of sound. They are different vibrations that you tune to in different ways. Esther remembers her thrill at her understanding of that when she saw the lightning and 4 or 5 seconds later heard the thunder, and she knew the event had taken place in the same place, but the light traveled faster to her than the sound did. And isn't that an interesting thing to think about? So what must be the speed of the vibration over here, and how must you tune yourself in order to receive it? Worth thinking about, isn't it? In fact, it's moving so fast you don't see it or hear it. Your creations are out there in the distance becoming, and you can't translate them with your physical senses for a while. And so humans who are so used to letting reality only be about physical sensing translation call it non-existent. When the dog hears something you don't hear, you don't say, "Stop it, you little faker." And so I've been trying to think life as a game where you have fun, of course, but also you're going up levels and you never get killed. That's right too. You never lose. But before you go, let's call it the game of turning thoughts to things. Right. Let's give this game a name. This is the really pleasurable, satisfying game of me getting to turn thoughts to things. Or just feeling good, because I mean, even though you don't turn to things, but if you already feel good, because as you said, everything we want in life is because we want to feel better or good. Or we agree with you, but haven't you noticed that when something that you desire becomes a tangible reality, that there is more satisfaction in it as you are devouring it with your physicality? Yes, but it usually comes so late, you know, I mean, that you don't even remember when you desired it, like the baseball guy. Hear this. So the only thing that is topsy-turvy in most humans' experience is that they need to see it before they feel it. But if you take away from this gathering the joy and the fun and the value of receiving it before you see it, then you're going to have fun all along the way. Because as our baseball friend says, he got something that he really wanted, and now, can you believe it, he still wants more. So even though something that he really wanted to manifest did, there are still a whole pipeline of other things. And so we want you to get to the place where the manifestations are not the big deal, just satisfying because you get to play with them in fuller senses, but everything's sure. Everything is sure. There's no reason to be timid or shy or humble. It's all coming. Just let yourself witness it. Here's what we're reaching for together. There's pleasure in the witnessing the subtle vibrations. There's lots of pleasure in witnessing big vibrations that you're translating through physical senses, but wouldn't it just be wonderful if you could start enjoying the pleasure of experiencing the subtle vibrations? Yeah, like subtle things, like very soft and... Well, for example, if you're loving someone, let's say, let's call that love subtle And then when you give them that wet, passionate kiss, it's less subtle. And the love is present in all of us, but in all of that, it was present in all of it. But the manifestation was extra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what makes you keep on living, right? I mean, it's what drives you, that search for that manifestation, that because otherwise, I mean, if you could create from the non-physical, then why become physical, right?
So what you're saying is that turning thoughts to things was a big reason that you came into these physical bodies, and so it should be recognized as an important part of this process. And we say yes, 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 yes. But it's interesting because you all seem to know that because that's what you're addicted to, but we still needed to sort of start over with you because your desire for the physical has caused you to not believe it until you see it. Esther's friend Wayne Dyer wrote a book, I'll see it when I believe it. And his point was, most people say, I'll believe it when I see it. And he wanted them to feel it before they saw it, to know it before it manifested. And you see, that's essential. Because if you don't know it, it can't manifest. So that's why it's so easy for you to regurgitate things that others are doing. You believe in a chair, you've seen a lot of them. You believe in the things that you believe in, but you don't let yourself make very big jumps because most people are only believing what they are seeing. But you made the point just now that we've been making as well, that by the time it's a physical manifestation, it's old news. That's like gum that you've chewed all the flavor out of. It's there and it exists, but it's not where the passion is.
It's like, okay, it happened, but then your mind is already somewhere else.
Your mind is on what's happening next. Your mind is on what's becoming, because it's the becoming that is life. It's the becoming. You see, you are creators interested in creating, not in creation. Hear the difference. You are creators interested in creating, the art, the act of molding the energy, not the act of creation. It's like, see my creation? I've sculpted it. Isn't it beautiful? What are you working on now? Nothing. This is it for me. This equals me. Well, it's lovely. What's next? Nothing. This is it. Aren't you bored? No. Maybe. Yes. Why don't you create something else? Because this is it. This is it. I'm a creator and this is my creation. But unless you are creating something next, this gets really old. In fact, it needs to be replaced. Good.
Good. Very good. Thank you.